We have some major breaking news. It has been announced that Kyle Busch's crew chief for 2026 has been officially revealed. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got some massive major breaking news as Kyle Busch's new crew chief for the 2026 season has been officially revealed. His crew chief for 2026 is going to be none other than Jim Pohlman, who currently is a crew chief for Justin Allgaier in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Here's the announcement for Richard Childress Racing. Richard Childress Racing appoints Jim Pohlman crew chief of the number 8 Chevrolet and driver Kyle Busch in the NASCAR Cup Series beginning in 2026. As in a statement from earlier today by RCR staff, Richard Childress Racing announced this week that Jim Pohlman will rejoin the organization in 2026 to assume the role of crew chief for Kyle Busch in the number 18 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Here's what Richard Childress said about this. Everyone at Richard Childress Racing remains focused on improving performance and is committed to putting the right people in place, including on the number 18. Jim Pohlman is a relentless competitor in the garage and fits in well with our mission and approach at RCR. He was well respected during his previous tenure at Welcome, and we know that he will do a great job leading the number 8 team and Kyle Busch. This is a really, really big deal. Obviously, we've been wondering who Kyle Busch's crew chief was going to be for the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. Obviously, we knew that Randall Burnett was not going to be back with Richard Childress Racing in 2026. Randall, of course, going over to work with Connor Zilisch at Trackhouse Racing in the 2026 season. And we were wondering who was going to be the crew chief for Kyle. We all initially thought that maybe Andy Stree, who's going to be the crew chief for the remainder of the season. We all thought Andy Stree was going to be the crew chief. But I don't think anybody was really expecting that if Andy Stree continue being the crew chief for Kyle Busch, I don't think anybody would have been expecting that Kyle was going to improve in performance. There just wasn't that confidence that performance was going to get a lot better. If they were going to get better, they were going to have to find somebody from the outside to come in and be part of the program. Jim Pohlman is that guy. Jim Pohlman is, in my opinion, a really, really good crew chief, and he comes from an outside source. I think this is something that Richard Childress Racing really needs. Jim Pohlman, of course, has been with Justin Allgaier for the last couple of seasons. I think he joined around 2022 and 2023 when he replaced Jason Burdett. He went over to work at Legacy Motor Club, and I think is now currently working at this point with Tricon still at this point. But now, of course, Jim Pohlman replaced Jason Burdett and Justin Allgaier during that tenure since Jim Pohlman's come in. I think Justin Allgaier has actually become a stronger driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and Justin Allgaier, of course, won the championship in the Xfinity Series in 2024. And so far, 2025, he's picked up 3 wins in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and has a really solid chance and opportunity to make the championship 4 if, of course, he has 2 really strong races. But Jim Pohlman, in my opinion, is someone that Kyle Busch really needs. He needs someone that is going to be an outside source that could come in for him and really help him improve, because we have seen Kyle Busch have, unfortunately, not that great of a season in the NASCAR Cup Series. This has been statistically one of his worst seasons in his NASCAR Cup Series career. He's had, I think, only like 2 or 3 top 5s in general this year. He's had maybe like 5 or 6 top 10s or something like that. It has been statistically one of the worst seasons Kyle Busch has ever had, and this is the least amount of laps that Kyle Busch has ever led in a season in his NASCAR Cup Series career. He needed someone to come in that could really help this program make and his 18 really turn it around. And I think Jim Pohlman, like I said, can be that guy who can turn things around for Kyle Busch going into next year. My expectations is that maybe we're going to see a little bit of an uptick in performance. I think that Jim Pohlman is actually going to do a really solid job. He can keep things straight. He can be a motivator. We see him, like I said, do an amazing job with Justin Allgaier. And I really believe that Jim Pohlman is going to do a pretty solid job with the program in 2026. I'm excited to see what he can do with Kyle Busch, because obviously there's a lot of talk that Kyle Busch could leave RCR at the end of 2026. We know Kyle Busch, of course, is back with the program for 2026. But the big question was, how long will Kyle Busch stay at RCR? Because is he going to stay past 2026? If the performance does get better at RCR, does Kyle Busch stick around? Because we know Spire Motorsports is interested in picking up Kyle Busch currently at the moment right now down the road for like 2027 at this point. So they need someone to come in that really can convince Kyle Busch to stick around. Again, I think the performance with someone coming in from an outside source who's worked with the fastest team in the Xfinity Series this year and the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series going into next year, who's worked with a lot of really good drivers and worked with many drivers over the years. He's had a previous working relationship with Richard Childress Racing. I think Jim Pohlman is going to do a really solid job. He won an ARCA championship, I believe, back in 2008 with Justin Allgaier too. So I really think that Kyle Busch needs someone who has that pedigree, and I think that Jim Pohlman will do a very, very good job. With this news, though, the big question we have to ask ourselves is who is going to be the crew chief for Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series? Because now Justin Allgaier is going to need a new crew chief for 2026. Could it be Andrew Overstreet? Andrew Overstreet, I believe, has been the crew chief for the one car this year for Carson Quaffle. We obviously know that Carson will be splitting his seat with Connor Zilisch in 2026 in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series with Rodney coming in. So Andrew won't be the crew chief of the one. I would have to think Overstreet is going to move over to work with Justin Allgaier in 2026. I think that's likely the outcome and the potential possibility. Could it be an outside source for Justin Allgaier too? Could they find a way to bring Jason Burdett back in the program if he doesn't go back to Tricon next year? I think that is certainly a possibility. But I really, really like this move for Kyle Busch on the other hand, because I think that there needs to be something that can get the mojo back for Kyle. Because yes, Kyle Busch has been part of the problem, there's no question, but I think RCR in general has been part of the problem as well. We've seen Austin Dillon only have one great performance really, and of course he picked up the win in Richmond to get into the playoffs this year with Richard Boswell being the crew chief, but you need more outside sources to come in that can really help your program get back up in the shape. And I think that there's a lot that does need to change at Rich Choles Racing for the team to be in a better position. But I think this is a start. I think this is going to be a good step in the right direction for the team and organization. I really like how I think Kyle Busch will have a solid season with this team. I'm looking forward to see what he can do in the 2026 year. And I'm really hoping that with Jim Pohlman coming in to be the crew chief for Kyle, I really hope things can improve because we're wanting to see things get better. And I think this is a solid change. I would have loved to see a guy like Scott Zipadelli get the chance and opportunity, but he's expected to be back with Tricon next year with Caden Honeycutt next season. So I like this move overall in general, and I'm excited to see how Jim Pohlman can do next year. I think Jim, like I said, is a solid crew chief, been really good with Justin Allgaier this year. Love this move. A good change in my opinion for the RCR team. Glad to see he'll get the chance and opportunity to work with Kyle Busch in the 2026 NASCAR Cup season. Looking forward to see what he does with Kyle Busch next year. So that's going to today's special breaking news report on Jim Pohlman joining Richard Choles Racing in the 2026 season. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me to Facebook and Instagram and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go to more of that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. How do you think Jim Pohlman is going to do as a crew chief in the NASCAR Cup Series next year? Do you think he'll do a good job with Kyle Busch, or do you think performance is going to remain similar going into 2026? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We have a lot of content coming out really soon. People like Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Sheldon Creed, Sam Barry, Frankie Muniz, Cletus Afaro, and Dodge Ram. We're also, of course, going to have some other videos dropping. I have a paint scheme video dropping later today on the channel as well. We're also going to, of course, have the Truck Series race review tomorrow along with the NASCAR news video dropping. And then, of course, we will have the Xfinity and Cup race reviews from this weekend's race for the upcoming weekend day. I will also, like I said, have the Cup starting lineup video for the race at Talladega Super Speedway on Sunday. And then, of course, we will on Monday have a NASCAR news video dropping, most likely, depending on the weather and all that stuff. We'll talk about people like Brock Feeney, Cam Waters, and other stuff on the channel in the coming days and weeks. We got a lot of fun content dropping soon. We're coming up to championship week. A lot of great content dropping really soon on the channel for you guys. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.